I don't want to get my hopes up anymore. I just get heartbroken every time.
Which mining pool was it that tested the Lightning Network the other night?
Bitfury.
I thought that would kick the market into a direction, maybe.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought miners really because they have so much vested interest in Bitcoin. I thought miners doing this kind of stuff, plus Segwit. I thought this was really bullish news. I thought, this is good for a pump now.
Did you guys see about this Glass Hut hacker South Korea group and they create that double spend what do they call it, website? They got hacked themselves. they have a subscription model where you can learn to be a hacker and things as well.
And Life is No Backspace has 20 million tokens going to be converted into equity, I assume. What do you think, Abercrombie? Are you converting any? Is anybody here BFX token holder converting?
I haven't decided yet because I have two options. Sadly, I have BFX Trust not too far away, and I have the Bank to the Future as well.
When's the actual pitch going to get advertised actually on the website? So we don't have to look at somebody's photoshopped Twitter post about it.
Yeah, Abercrombie, I don't know if you can as a US citizen. I don't know. Your government is so fucked up, I don't know what you can or can't do anymore.
It's funny that Poloniex has banned people from New Hampshire, and their motto is live free or die, so I guess they can strike out the live free part.
Anyone else think Monero is going to go down to 12 millibits?
Could do.
That would be a 3.8 retrace from the very top.
Life is No Backspace. If I convert to equity, why would I convert? Why don't I just wait for my $1 payout? If I convert to equity, can I get $1 quicker? Can I get more than $1? Where's the market?
Flipper, I think more interesting is what's the quality of the equity? Is it going to be on par with the partner's equity, or is it going to be of a lower share class? That's, I think, the more interesting question.
Yeah. Well, also like, where can you trade that equity as well?
Yeah, the liquidity of it. Where how are people going to get out if they want to? Do they have to go through a whole complex procedure just to get one of the other partners or shareholders to buy them out, or is there some kind of easier way because it's not a publicly traded company unless it gets floated on a pink sheet exchange somewhere?
Yeah, I think these are questions that I had, and I looked at the site and I was like, it doesn't tell me this shit anywhere. And then I looked at the deadline. And I was like, what the fuck? This deadline is in a couple of days.
What's the deadline?
Exactly. When's the fucking deadline?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Giancarlo.
So the first deadline would be the 7th of October, and this would be for getting one RRT for each share that you get. After the 7th of October, it will be only half RRT. I think you are familiar with what an RRT is, if you read some informations on Bank to the Future or other places where we basically explain what it is. It's going to be a token that will allow people to get back their dollar investment per share in case we get back our Bitcoins, and it will be tradable. I anticipate the value of RRT to be low because I believe we don't have a lot of chances to get back our Bitcoins, historically speaking, but in our case, I believe it's also a little bit different because we know exactly where all these Bitcoins went. We have every single address where these Bitcoins went. And this might also create a big incentive for people that know something about the hacker, because they might eventually buy these RRTs and then go for redemption once we get back our Bitcoins. This is basically the first deadline. Probably the second deadline will be at the end of October, and this will be for people that will participate will get only 50%, which means half a recovery right token. And then I believe the third round will be lasting until the end of November, and this will entitle people only to get a quarter of an RRT. These are basically the three deadlines. For sure, the first one is decided. For the other two ones, we haven't decided yet, but it's almost there with the decision. I believe, but this is just my opinion, I believe that we are in front of a typical self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, the two paradoxical cases are, first case, 0% will convert, and we will be left with over $70 million of debt. This will mean that we are dead. And the other paradoxical case is 100% will convert. And this means over 70 million tokens will convert. In this case, we should all agree upon the fact that Bitfinex will be in a much better shape, which means that nobody will have doubts about our survival. The chances of us to go down if we have no debt will be zero, because Bitfinex has always been a profitable business. We never made a loss in 3 years, month after month. And especially when volatility is around, we can make a big bunch of money. We can discuss about the valuation of the company and so on, but I can tell you that a lot of investment funds that we've been talking to already said that once this first phase of conversion has been completed, they're interested in buying shares of Bitfinex, because at that point, the valuation that we gave, which is more or less 6 times earnings based on what we project to be earning in 2017, will be cheap for them. So they might be interested in buying shares from existing shareholders on this dark pool system that we will create in order to allow existing shareholders or qualified investors that will be approved by the board of directors to buy into Bitfinex. To answer to your question, Fibre, I believe the fastest way to get back your money is to convert your shares and then to sell your shares to another shareholder or a new investor in Bitfinex for $1 or eventually for a higher amount of money. You have also to keep into account the fact that we we sit on reserves that we kept as contingent liability reserves. And once we see that this conversion is going well, we can also dedicate some of this money. I would say that if we get over 40 or 50 million token converted, we might dedicate some of this money to basically redeem tokens at a much higher rate. This will also, I believe, cause the fact that the token, the BFX token price, will go very close to parity at that point, and then this will probably be the end of the nightmare.
Could you give any more details about this dark pool mechanism for when people do convert their shares and suddenly they've got now equity in the private company with no public exchange to get on? So how exactly are they going to liquidate that to, as you said, a new investor or existing shareholder?
Well, our ideal situation would be to be able to tokenize our shares and to allow everybody to trade with these shares. Let's say a little bit like the DAO idea was. I believe the DAO actually got lucky at the end because they got hacked, and because of this they had to unwind the whole thing, because if this didn't happen, they would have had a lot of regulatory issues. In other words, as I wrote before, almost every Western country and also Asian country has very precise regulations about IPOs and public shares, which means that if you go public, then you are listed on a market and you're authorized to sell your shares to everybody. But in case you're not a public company, so you're not listed on a market, you have a lot of limits in doing this. Within these limits, for example, you cannot sell your shares as the DAO did to American customers because they live in a very regulated market, to say the least. And this is what the DAO did, by the way, because they accepted money from any nationality, anybody that was throwing Ethereum at them was welcome in the DAO, and this would have caused them a lot of problems. Luckily, they got hacked and they unwinded the whole situation, and now probably regulators will not give them any shit because this is a dead project. Nobody's interested in hitting a dead body. And also it was kind of decentralized because nobody was really the leader of the whole thing. But something different would have happened, I believe, if they still were on top of $150 million, because this would have been very juicy prey for any regulator that is trying to get money out of any organization that is not complying to the regulation. Sadly, it all goes down to money. They all go for the money. We have, for the time being, we have our hands a little bit tied, but we can allow existing shareholders to exchange their shares between themselves. This is something that every company can do. Even if you start your own company and you have 3 or 4 shareholders, and once the company has been created and it's been going on, one shareholder wants out because he needs the money or he's fed up about being a shareholder, he can sell his shares to another shareholder, and this is perfectly legal in any market and for every regulator in the world. At the same time, a company can allow new shareholders, new investors, to buy shares of the company through emission of new shares, but this is not our case, or basically facilitating one shareholder to sell his shares to this new investor. Of course, this is a little bit more complicated in private companies. Not everybody can buy shares into a private company, but it's a little bit of a more complicated procedure. But if a new investor qualifies to be a new shareholder, which means that you go through AML KYC, the board of director basically votes for this investor not to be hostile to the company or to be up to no good and so on, then this new guy can, you know, be welcome within the shareholders and, you know, place his offer and maybe eventually buy some shares at the price he deems to be right for this. Our idea is for the time being, and it seems like it's possible because every idea we have has to be vetted by, of course, the legal department, but our idea is to create kind of a dark pool, which is a room where people can meet, shareholders can meet, and also new investors that are qualified to be welcome in this room can meet and say, I want to sell 100,000 Bitfinex shares at this price. And if another shareholder or a new investor deems this price to be fair, you can say, why not? I buy it at this price. And at that point, the shares will not belong to the seller, but will belong to the buyer. It's a very simple mechanism. It's a little bit, rudimentary compared to a sophisticated order book, but it's a little bit the same thing as transactions on bitcoins were going before exchanges were born, where there was an Excel file where people were, you know, putting their bids and asks, and if they were matching, they would exchange values in bitcoins. They will now do it with shares. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more sophisticated than an Excel file, but it will not be a very thick order book like we have on other cryptocurrencies. And of course, it will be joinable only by qualified shareholders. I have to say that also the SPVs that are being created, namely Bank to the Future, and Bitfinex Trust, and also other SPVs that are, for example, onboarding our Chinese creditors. They also are planning to allow shares in these SPVs to be tradable or exchangeable between shareholders. So it's, I believe this is a very complex ecosystem that will allow a lot of possibilities to different people. It's up to you to ask these questions also to Bank to the Future or to Bitfinex Trust, which I believe they're both offering a wide range, even if it's a little bit more different between the two, but they offer a wide range of possibility and options in this direction. Will, to answer to your question, I believe really the psychological threshold will be around, I would say, half of the token converted. If we can take the debt down to, let's say, 30 million tokens around this level, then according to all the feedback that I got, we will be deemed to be out of the bushes. I believe from what I said, you know, there is already about 20 million tokens that for sure will convert, and I'm just counting 4 big creditors here. In my opinion, within 1 week time, there will be at least half of the tokens that will convert. This is my opinion. I'm not sure about that, but in this moment there is a lot of people kicking tires. They want to see who is first in. And again, you know, I believe after we get to 35 million tokens converted, then the amount of debt that is on our shoulders will be much more bearable than what it is now. As I wrote before, there might be a case where we will not go to the whole 80 million shares that we put on the presentations, because of course the more shares we issue, the more diluted we get, and this is also applying to any converter. We all agree upon the fact that if the amount of outstanding shares is only 190 millions instead of 200 millions, this will represent a non-dilution of 5%. So as we have contingent liability reserves, and you know, other consideration can be made. We might come to a point where, let's say, if we have only 20 million tokens outstanding, we might come to the conclusion that we will only allow people to redeem their tokens. And of course, at that point, the redemption will be much quicker because the number of outstanding tokens will be much lower. And let's say for every $1 million we throw at redemption, it will not be 1 point something percent, it will be 5%. This cannot be outruled. You know, it's our right to decide when to close the gate. I don't mean to push anybody into conversion, but I just want you to understand how this mechanism is not something carved in stone. It's something that we are all working on, and we try to do that in the best interest of our creditors, but at the same time keeping an eye to our shareholders that are also very important.
Just curious, how long does it take to get verified with Bank to the Future? Because I imagine if you haven't done it now and it comes out next week, you're not going to get into the first week.
Personally, haven't
Well,
done
this
it,
is
but
something that you have to ask to Bank to the Future, but I verified in order to be a moderator in this. As an individual, they only require a copy of your ID, a utility bill, and a bank statement, which are, I believe, documents that anybody has in his hands. It's a quite easy verification process, even compared to Bitfinex, which is much more extended in the AML KYC procedures. And therefore, I believe it will not take, once you have these documents in hands, this will not take more than 1 day to verify. I don't think, but anyway, you still have more than 1 week time if you are considering to convert your debt into equity. I would start the verification process.
Also, I don't know if it's been answered before, but when the hacker got inside the company, did they take any personal information from your clients? Like, I'm hoping that our photos and our passport information stuff were maybe stored on a different server, but
We have no evidence that the hacker went into the server where this information was stored. From what we understand, the only server that was touched was the one that was talking to Bitcoin.
yeah, it might be ideal too for people who aren't so business line like myself. Simple table like if you do not convert, what will happen? You know, you'll get your money redeemed once it comes out, or you just said that it will be dead, or if you do redeem with Bank to the Future, you get this, and if you do it with the trust, you get this as well. So easy comparison, because at the moment your website doesn't make sense. It just bounces. If you want to click on Bank to the Future, you get a pop-up saying, "Oh, you have to go to Bitfinex website," and it just doesn't give you any information. Like, the pitch should really be actually on your website, public. And I don't know who sent this link around that everyone's got a copy of, but that should really be on your website, so we know that it hasn't been photoshopped and the numbers are correct.
Well, Bank to the Future is partnering with us in this operation, so you can trust Bank to the Future to display the numbers that we gave to them. They will not cheat you or do anything like this. At the same time, we cannot publish the pitch of Bank to the Future because this is what they put up for people that decided to go through their channel. This is not something we do ourselves. They are facilitating our conversion, and we can only say that we endorse this activity, and that's all we can do.
So if you're estimating that more than 50% of tokens will get converted to people that don't want equity in the business and are just holding their Bitfinex tokens just to get their $1 redemption back, will that still happen, or?
No, I'm just saying that the fastest way, this is my opinion, but I might be wrong in this, the fastest way to get back your money, in case you don't want to be a shareholder of Bitfinex, might eventually be to convert your tokens into shares and then sell your shares to another shareholder. Because the more people will convert their shares, their tokens into shares, so will convert their debt into equity, the more value Bitfinex will represent. In other words, if, as I said before, the two paradoxical situations are, if 0% convert, then Bitfinex has no value, okay? It will take a long time to pay back $70 million. If 100% of the people convert, then Bitfinex has a value. We can debate for weeks or even years about $200 million is a fair valuation, is not a fair valuation, but at the end of the day, we will not get anywhere. I'm just saying that a lot of people think that once we take down the debt to bearable levels, they are interested in investing into Bitfinex. And this comes from investment funds, from a lot of investors we are talking to. Because we decided that the first phase was to allow creditors to convert their debt into equity. And then only after this, we will start talking to possible investors, traditional investors, okay? Having said that, we cannot avoid people buying BFX token on the open market. So even if you disagree with a valuation of, let's say, 6.5 projected 2017 earnings pre-money, I could argue with you that you can take down this valuation by buying more BFX tokens at 53, 54 cents on the dollar. And this will represent about half of the cost based on the company valuation that we gave.
What's
So do you have
the
any
plan
idea?
B?
Hold on, really.
Sorry.
Let me ask something really quick. Giancarlo, do you have any idea of how many holdouts there are? That is, people who are creditors due to the hack, who have not accepted the agreement that people have when they log in and all that stuff. Do you have any idea of the percentage of the coins that are in that kind of status?
It's the last time we made the calculation, it's only 20% of the outstanding tokens that didn't move yet, among which there are most of the American customers, which are not allowed to buy tokens. They can only sell their tokens. And but most of them didn't do anything. They are just waiting for redemption because they are paralyzed. They cannot do anything, and they prefer to wait. Among which, for example, there is also myself. You know, I have over 1.2 million tokens. I got also screwed by Bitfinex, and as a private user, you know, I thought my bitcoins were safe on Bitfinex, so I kept the very vast majority of them on Bitfinex. But I will not wait for redemption. I will convert my tokens into Bitfinex equity. Even though I'm a big shareholder, I will acquire another 0.6% because I believe in this plan and I believe it will be a good investment. But to answer to your question, I believe we will be able to basically redeem anybody that is up to no good or menacing to make a lawsuit or something like that with the outstanding, with the contingent liability reserves that we kept in our vaults. I have to say that amazingly, so far, I say amazingly because in the days after the hack, we were talking extensively about our future and so on, and we projected to have a lot of lawsuits or people legally taking a path against us. But up until now, this has not happening. This has not been happening. We don't have anybody suing us. They all understood the situation. I must say that I spent long hours during this almost 2 months talking to every big creditor and trying to explain to them what is the situation. I personally take full responsibility of my bad decision to go with BitGo. I should not have taken this decision. On the other hand, hindsight is 2020. Now we have to talk about the future and not about the past. It will not be very easy to convince me to go with a third-party solution provider. I believe we are perfectly well with our old good multi-sig wallet system. By the way, the good old multi-sig wallet system allowed us not to be hacked for any other token than the one that we kept with BitGo. We didn't lose any Ethereum, we didn't lose any Ethereum Classic, we didn't lose any Litecoin. And I can tell you this represented a lot of millions of dollars, dozens of millions of dollars. But the hacker couldn't do anything. So I let you draw your conclusion. I cannot say much more. But I think BitGo has a clear responsibility in what happened, despite what they claim on their blog or about. I know that they came out after a couple of days saying we have no responsibility and so on. I disagree with them, and we'll see in the future what will happen. But at the same time, I believe now we are the safest trading platform in the world because we have always been very paranoid with our Bitcoins. Anybody that was trying to withdraw from Bitfinex knows that it took long hours before we were releasing, especially if the amount of Bitcoins or any other coins was relevant. It was taking a long time. The procedure was very complicated to allow people to withdraw their coins from us. Other platforms are much faster in doing this, and I don't know what their procedures are, but I suspect their checks, their controls on withdrawals are not so complicated or paranoid. Unluckily, the hacker overtook all these checks and acted directly on BitGo, authorizing all these withdrawals, completely bypassing our infrastructure.
So Giancarlo, you said about 20% of the coins are holdouts where people haven't actually accepted the agreement or anything, but your contingency fund can't be big enough to cover 20% if these people, as you call them, troublemakers, come to redeem their money. Are you saying that 20% haven't actually agreed to the token scheme and they could then sue for their full amount? And you think that the legal contingency fund that you've set up is enough to cover these guys?
Well, this is a little bit more complicated than how I expressed it. For example, let me give you an example. Our two biggest creditors, they got haircut of about the beginning of their problem was over 5 million tokens. The two of them, okay? They have not been selling any of these tokens, and on the opposite, they've been accumulating many more tokens. These people legally never agreed within giving up their right because they didn't sell their tokens, but they are still part of the number that I mentioned, okay, which is this 20%. Myself, for example, I am an example of 1.2 million tokens that didn't accept this agreement because I never sold one token. And therefore, I legally still have the right to sue Bitfinex for 1.2 million tokens. But of course, I will never do it. On top of that, you have to calculate thousands of customers that have what we call dust, 10 tokens, 20 tokens, 30 tokens, but this all adds up to big numbers. And these people never logged in their accounts in the last months, you know. And of course, we keep their accounts, we keep their balance, but God knows what happened to these guys. You know, maybe they're dead, maybe they're in prison. They don't log in. And but statistically speaking, this comes into the number of people that didn't accept the agreement. Long story short, I believe that even if all the people that didn't accept the agreement will come together and sue us, we will still have the contingent liability reserves in order to pay them back. And this, keep in mind, is a costly operation. You have to sue us in the British Virgin Islands. And, you know, at the end of the day, why would you want to do something like this? And, you know, waste a lot of money on your side, waste a lot of money on our side, distract us from basically paying you back. Our intent is not to run with the money. Our intent is not to cheat anybody. We could have said, guys, we go bankrupt, and everybody would have been in the same boat. A la Gox, for example, creditors in empty Gox still have to see 1 cent. We decided to do something that was unprecedented. I believe nobody tried to do something as we did. Of course, a lot of people think that we did it also for our interest, and this might be the case, but believe me, I was a rich man before starting Bitfinex, even before Bitcoin was created, and my life will not change if I lose the money that I invested in Bitfinex, which was, by the way, a very tiny amount. They were all accrual earnings. So at the end of the day, you know, what I'm doing personally, I cannot speak for other shareholders and so on. It's really because I believe in Bitcoin, I believe in the community, and I think really our community, the Bitcoin community, couldn't take another bullet like empty Gox. If Bitfinex went down, this would have been really the last nail in the coffin of Bitfinex, of Bitcoin. And that's why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. I wouldn't suggest anybody to go through the last 60 days of my life because it was really stressful. I spent long hours working, most of my time during weekends and so on. Not that before my life was very easy, but you know, there were several times where I asked myself, should you give up and basically go back to your normal life where you know, you were relaxing and doing things you wanted to do and so on, or go on with this venture, trying to save people and also maybe walk away with some money. If I make money out of Bitfinex because one day I will sell it or not, believe me, my life will not change because at the end of the day, I'm happy with a steak once in a while, a good bottle of wine. I'm not a guy that ever bought a Ferrari. I will never buy one. I don't take helicopters or private jets. And, you know, I have a very modest life and I enjoy doing what I do. For me, money is just something that rewards my intelligence if I'm able to do something good. But, you know, up to a certain extent, I don't need more money than what I already had before I started Bitfinex. Not because it was a big amount, but because, as I said, I don't have big expectation out of my life, and I like reading. I like to browse the internet to learn new things. I have a curious mind, and that's all I want in my life. You know, some sport, some good food, and that's all. I'm an easy person. I believe if we can make it, this is going to be an example for everybody, especially for people that are not in the Bitcoin community, about how resilient our community is, how difficult for us is to give up, and how we can all stand together, stand united when something like this is happening, because I believe we have the moral obligation to show the world that we are here to stay, and our technology is not going to go away, and it will only get better. Some people might disagree with Ethereum is going to be something better than Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin will be better than Ethereum, but all these new developments are showing the world that the beginning of Bitcoin and then the new developments with new cryptocurrencies and so on are making our world, talking about the crypto world, stronger and stronger and more resilient. And even if something bad is happening, like people are losing because of a hack or something like that, altogether we can make it and make our community stronger. This is my point of view. I might be wrong in this, but I will try my best in order to complete this recovery operation and to make everybody whole.
Okay, so one more thing though about the BitGo situation. So, I mean, when can we expect that? I mean, clearly they have some fault, and clearly under any legal jurisdiction, they are responsible for the damages, at least partly. So, when can we expect that you guys hold them accountable? Are you guys avoiding perhaps taking this action due to the discovery process, which might have to mean you open up a lot of details that goes into public record? Is there any kind of thoughts you have about this?
Well, we all know that any legal case, any legal suit is very often ending up in a shitstorm. I believe in this moment we should keep concentrated in our recovery plan. To dedicate money, resources, energies, attention to sue somebody, I believe it doesn't make sense in this moment. I agree with you from a PR point of view. It would be a terrific move to say, "Oh, we're going to sue BitGo, and so on and so on and so on." Some people asked if we are going to fire people responsible for this and that and that. We are not trying to do this kind of spectacular things. We try to keep our head down, to be concentrated into our recovery plan. Believe we have things to do up to our sleeves, up to our neck in this moment. I believe it would be an enormous distraction in this moment to do something like this, to start a legal case in California. It costs an enormous amount of money to pay for lawyers. It's not the time. I'm not saying that we will ever going to do it, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, it still is doubtful if BitGo is going to survive another few months or a year or something like that, because their business model was not doing really well before. We were by far their biggest customer. All this walleting fever that was really popular a couple of years ago and caused the birth of a lot of companies is not working really well as a business model. A lot of people prefer to have a private wallet on their PC and not put their money under somebody else's custody. I could add, rightly so, but it is anybody's guess which solution is the best one. I'm not so sure that we should even discuss this at this point. I believe at this point the most important thing is to complete first the conversion and then the redemption. After we basically call back the last token outstanding, then I will have the time and maybe the resources to start a new war or something like that. For the moment, I'm too busy fighting this battle.
What's this plan B if you don't get enough people doing the conversion? Are you just going to phase out for the next 10 years, or are you going to pack up shop?
Well, from what it looks, as I said, we already have over 20 million coins under the belt before anybody else. I mean, I'm just talking about 4 people. All the other thousands are just doing exactly what you do. They're, kicking the tires, sitting on the sidelines and waiting. They might eventually decide what to do within the first deadline, or they might eventually decide to wait after the first deadline to give up half a recovery right in order to take a more educated guess. So it's for me very difficult to say what will happen, but I must say that it all depends on a lot of variables. The month of June and July were extremely profitable for Bitfinex. This was when volatility was on. We made big volume. Just to give an example, in June alone, the total number of our transactions overtook $1.4 billion. I'm talking about numbers that everybody can check on all the third-party websites that are publishing the volume that we made on Bitcoins and on all the other altcoins. $1.4 billion, given the fact that we are making, I let you calculate how much we are making on each trade, but is north of 20 basis point, ends up having, over $2 million of net profit in 1 month alone. Now we all know that this is not the case in September. This wasn't the case in August, but no. A lot of people are bullish in this moment about Bitcoin. Simply the fact that you are all bearish, or at least Philibert is bearish, makes me very bullish about Bitcoin. So maybe the price of Bitcoin will touch again $1,000. I'm willing to bet with you a beer and a pizza with anybody of you that. And you will pay for my pizza, and I will pay for everybody's pizza in case this case verifies. I bet with you that if Bitcoin is going to touch $1,000, Bitfinex the same month will make $5 million of profit. And this, once you start pulling out your calculator and calculate what will be the redemption rate, this might end up, having Bitfinex redeeming coins at a much higher rate than what the current rate is. I agree with you that at current rate is going to take several years to redeem all the tokens, even though once you redeem 1 million, then you will have to pay 1 million less tokens for the next redemption. So this will go in the right direction. As a mortgage, for example, the first settlements of a mortgage are having a big percentage of interest in themselves, and the last ones, even though the amount is the same, will cover a lot of principal and very little interest, because the principal left is much smaller. But at the same time, I believe with a little bit of luck, we might be able to redeem all the outstanding tokens within months instead of years. It also depends, of course, on the interest of new investors that are in this moment, as everybody else, sitting on the sidelines and waiting to see what happens. I think I don't want to steal the line of the Bitcoin world, but I think the next 2 or 3 weeks will be crucial.
Is there any more updates if we're going to get another redemption before the conversion? Or are you going to start doing redemptions after the conversions?
Probably yes, but if we are going to redeem more tokens before the conversion, even people that decided to convert will be included in this redemption.
So essentially, people who ended up with tokens had three ways to convert it into equity. One was is the Bank to the Future, the other is the BFX Trust, and the third one was if they had a shit ton of BFX coins, right? And they could directly convert into equity.
Well, basically, anybody that has over 500,000 tokens has the right to become our direct shareholder. If somebody doesn't have a lot of tokens, can apply for BFX Trust or Bank to the Future, or also you could create your own SPV, your own special purpose vehicle. Let's say the TeamSpeak SPV, where you all put your tokens together and you create a company, you choose the right jurisdiction in order to optimize your taxation, your privacy, and so on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to find out this kind of informations. And once you do this, and it's pretty cheap, it doesn't cost a lot of money to do something like that. Once you do that, if you have over 500,000 tokens, then you can be represented as a direct shareholder, which will mean that you will be able to sell your shares or to buy more shares to attract more investors. You will basically become another BFX Trust. Okay, Alistair, by the way, is our creditor. I can tell you, in the first days, he was not so friendly with us because he lost a shitload of money, less than me, by the way. But anyway, he was not that friendly. He was talking about, I'm going to send you a letter from my lawyers and blah blah blah, and then he understood the opportunity, and he's now our friend. And I'm talking to him every day, and he understands that sometimes, from the worst tragedy comes, good opportunity, and there is a silver lining around every cloud. I don't know. I think it's very easy to be smiling and to be friend when everything is going in the right direction. When there is an adversity, for which I take full responsibility, by the way, because I took the decision to go with BitGo, you really see the difference between some people. It's good to complain. I also complained about the situation with some people, but at the same time, there is a point where you have to, take up your sleeves and say, okay, what shall we do now? Shall we just try to forget about it? A lot of people sold their tokens when they were 30 cents or even lower. For sure, one guy sold his token when they were 16 cents, the first day we opened up the gates. I don't know, maybe he's happy with this decision. Maybe he bought back the tokens, and he's trying now to make $1 out of the redemption. Is anybody's guess what the right strategy is? I cannot judge the decision of people with their own money, because there are different ways to get to Rome, as we say in Italy. But maybe some people made the right choice selling their tokens. I know for sure that a lot of people accumulated these tokens. Some people bought millions of them. Let's say weekends, or people that are skeptical about our recovery plan are getting out of tokens. I see interest, short interest getting bigger. There are over 1 million shorts on BFX token. I don't know. These people will have to buy back, because there is no way they can solve the problem without buying back. By the way, I believe betting on the failure of our recovery plan is a very risky strategy, because if you short BFX token and if we go belly up, I don't think this will happen, but if we go belly up, you tell me how you're going to collect your money out of this short.
I've had that same argument.
Yeah, we discussed that before. It makes no sense.
No, but it does. No, because it's not about people stacking up shorts like that aren't necessarily betting that it goes to zero. It's just betting that the market perception of the value of that liability is going down. So you can make good money shorting it still on a sell-off that takes it down 20-30%. I mean, this is trading, you know. So I mean, that was my argument against, because everybody was making a similar argument that you're saying, Giancarlo, and Flavor was saying this, etc. There's still a reason. There's a logical, rational reason to short it. It's not necessarily like when I short S&P. My bet is not that the economy is going to crash. My bet is that the price is going to swing down and give me, some profit.
If you're going for a 2, 3, 4% correction, you are right in your assumption. As you said, you don't short S&P to take it to the ground. You don't expect S&P to go to zero. But at the same time, in our case, I believe it's a completely different situation. Because a lot of people believe that by shorting Bitfinex coins, they want to take it to the ground where they will be able to buy back the token, let's say below 30 cents or 20 cents, and to make a shitload of money. If your shorting purpose is just to capitalize on a short dip, let's say 5 or 6%, I think your strategy is kind of valuable. But I heard some people saying, I will short BFX token because I don't believe Bitfinex is going to make it, and I will sell. I will buy back my tokens below 10 cents. I think their strategy is flawed because they will never see a 10 cent for BFX token and be able to collect their money. If they see 10 cents, they're going to be caught in the trap.
Well, it depends on, because you said yourself you have 1.2 million BFX token coins, so you're not selling, right? So maybe guys like you that are back holding it, even if Bitfinex is doing well and able to make redemptions on withdrawals, maybe it does go down to 10 cents if the market is just perceiving this and guys aren't buying it, and it just, maybe if it's at 1 cent or something, I don't know, but so maybe it still goes even that low. That's possible. It doesn't mean that you're dead. Dead means that, to me, dead means that the price feed is off, withdrawals are delayed for 2 weeks. That's off. Like you're still alive necessarily if the price is going.
I believe, if this is a very hypothetical situation, but if we are going to see the price of BFX going to 10 cents, the amount of time you have in order to withdraw your Bitcoins before we go belly up is going to be a matter of seconds, not even minutes, because it means if the price goes down to 10 cents, it means that we are really fucked. This is, as I said, just an hypothetical situation.
Right, but Giancarlo, think about back in like the financial crisis, right? When these companies like Bear Stearns and the Lehman Brothers, they were still trading when the blood was on the wall and people fucking knew. It wasn't until like it was like they hit the limit down shit, and so I think that there's still, there was also Gox coins, don't forget that, right? The fucking by then everybody was fucked, and there was still a market for it. So BFX tokens only really exist in your database, right? They're not really crypto. It's just you have a database and you have allocated on your database a certain number of BFX coins. So that's the only place they really exist, right? So technically you have control of this market, and as long as you're alive in some way, shape or form, then the market still could drop a lot and you're able to create the market for it in some way or another.
That's why, for the same reason you just said, that's why I believe it's going to be very difficult for any short to buy back at 10 cents and take out his money. You were able to short banks in 2008 from other platforms. So in this case, if your short goes down to 1 cent, you don't even have to buy it back. You can collect all the money because it's on your account. But a different thing is Bitfinex. Because of the token is only traded on our platform, if the price goes to 1 cent, you might not have, and again, let me restate this, we are talking about an hypothetical situation, which will never happen, I believe, but in case it goes down to 10 cents or even 1 cent, you will be trapped within the system because we will go bankrupt. We will not allow people to take away their money in such an hypothetical case. The confidence in our company is is big enough not to allow the price to go so low. If the price goes so low, it means that a catastrophe, something really bad will happen. And in this case, we'll go belly up. I cannot even think about what will drive the price so down. For sure, apart from the flash crash of a few days ago, where the price went to 38 cents for a short time, then it bounced back to 50 cents and it never went below 50 cents since then. And 50 cents, in my opinion, has a very big psychological implication, because it means that we have over 50% chances of making it. 50 cents on a dollar is much higher than what the Greek debt, for example, is traded for. And I'm glad to be more reliable than the Greek government or the Greek country. Not that I have something against Greeks. I love them as people, but to be more reliable or to be deemed to be less riskful than a whole country is something that makes me, kind of happy. But at the same time, this 50 cents, in my opinion, has a very big psychological implication, which means that, a lot of people think we have over 50% of chances to be able to make it. And after we complete the first redemption phase, and I believe the number will look good next week, then I believe bullishness will come on BFX token, and the price might eventually go above 60 cents, maybe even 70 cents. God knows where it will stop. Some people, and this made me laugh, theoretically, think that the price can even go above $1. I see some asks in our order book for $2 or $3. These, of course, are just opportunistic people that put it there and say maybe there will be some flash spike of the price or something like that. You have people like this in every market, but you cannot outrule any possibility.
Yeah, but so are you watching then? What chart are you watching closer these days? BFX coin or Bitcoin?
I watch both, and I think the winter is coming. And historically speaking, halving time has been 2 months ago. Last time, okay, statistically, it's very difficult to say because we only had one halving time. But at the same time, I see a lot of miners being extremely bullish because they understand the difficulty is going up, and 25 bitcoins every block was acceptable. Now it's 12.5. It's not acceptable anymore. They all think the price is going to go up. Maybe this will not happen. But we've been going sideways for a long time, months now, and we might have had some effect on the low volatility in the last months. Maybe there is a lot of uncertainty in this moment, but I think this might change. This bias might change. And, we all know how brutal can Bitcoin be in some situations. We all enjoyed the rally during the spring, during the beginning of the summer. On YouTube, we still have this comments that were really funny when the price was going up. Everybody was FOMOing and everybody was happy. This might eventually come back before the end of this year, in my opinion. Nobody has a crystal ball. I bought one on Amazon and I had to send it back because it didn't work. But at the same time, I can say, God knows. If volatility comes back, I strongly believe Bitfinex is going to be #1 again, is going to crush the competition again. I don't know. I might be wrong, but even in the last days, every time there was not a storm, but a little bit of wind, we went back to #1. We are not faking our numbers. So, and believe me, in the last weeks, I've been thinking about it, several times. Why don't we push some, wash sales into the system, and we do like almost everybody is doing, and we try to be #1 again. I believe I made the right choice in not allowing this, because you only can lose your virginity once, and once you start doing these kind of things, you never stop. It's like taking dope or something like that. It's not a good thing to do, and we had days. I mean, I think last weekend we had one day where we made less than 1,000 Bitcoin in 24 hours. This is hard to accept for somebody like us. We were having over 100,000 Bitcoins in some days. But, this is life. You have to accept and be patient and believe in your community, believe in your customers. Historically speaking, I believe the Bitcoin community has always been forgiving players that treated them well. Everybody can fuck up, and I'm the perfect example of this. Everybody can take a bad decision, but it's really how you react to adversity that makes a difference between one guy and another.
Yeah, but so I mean, what percentage of the decision was really yours, though? Like, I mean, was it really a team, or was it like you who was leading the project and said, "Let's go to BitGo, let's do this"? Like, or was it more of a team thing?
Well, let me tell you what happened. We first got to know about BitGo in January 2015. And this was when Bitstamp got hacked. When they recovered their hack, and they built this new infrastructure, and they came public, and they said, we are restoring our trading and so on. They also said between the lines that their solution was BitGo. Okay. So we started investigating, and by the time there was a CEO called Will O'Brien. He was a great guy. He came to London. He pitched the solution. They had, these $10 million of venture capital money, typical Silicon Valley operation, and so on. We were kind of, reassured in what they were doing. We had also different options. We were also exploring different options, among which also Xapo, for example, and other options. But what really motivated us was the possibility of being the first platform in the world to offer a real-time proof of stake. In other words, I don't have to explain the details about that, but every customer had 3 different addresses that were on the blockchain and could see the balance of his Bitcoins on these 3 different addresses. We were going to be the first platform in the world to offer this kind of transparency, especially after what happened to Mt. Gox. A lot of shields and a lot of trolls were saying, oh, no platform has the Bitcoins that they're supposed to have. They all lost it. They all got hacked. They all went short or long. They're all playing with the customers' money. And for us, it was a big challenge to be the first platform to show real-time proof of stake. I think 1 month before we were signing the contract, and this was during the convention in New York, which was April 2015, Will O'Brien came to the convention and told us that he was going to resign from BitGo. This left me a little bit, cold feet about the situation, because he was a great guy, and we were almost signing the contract, and you're never comfortable with people resigning, especially CEOs and stuff like this. So I was asking questions. He was not willing to give me a lot of details and so on. Long story short, during the same convention, I got to know the new CEO, which is Mike Belchi, and I must say I didn't have the same feeling about him, which doesn't mean a lot, because we all know that personal feelings or sympathy or something like that shouldn't be taken into consideration when it comes to business decision. But at the same time, everything matters. I remember I talked to Phil about the situation, and we came to the conclusion that we were almost signing the contract. And even though we were not 100% comfortable with the situation, we said, what the fuck? I mean, we shouldn't change our mind. It's very important that we come with this solution as first. Maybe somebody else will follow, and maybe be faster than us. So, long story short, we took our decision to go with BitGo because they seem to be safe. And now it's easy to say, they were not, they didn't turn out to be what they were. They still advertise, by the way, on their website, the fact that they have this famous algorithm that is monitoring the flow of Bitcoins in and out. Well, I don't know which kind of algorithm this is. I asked several questions about it, but they always said, this is proprietary technology. We cannot tell you too many details about it. I don't think it's rocket science. Every credit card company has a system like this. So if your credit card company gets hit by several transactions, especially if they come from countries that are not where you live, your credit card your credit card gets frozen, and then you get an SMS or a call by the credit card company, and they check if everything is okay. Otherwise, if you get hacked in your credit card, then they replace it with a new one. All our addresses were belonging to us. They were clustered as Bitfinex addresses. So my question is, how is it possible that within 1 hour time, 119,000 Bitcoins are flowing out of our property without having this very famous and efficient algorithm raising any flag? My next question is, how is it possible, after you told us that this hard limit of 2,500 Bitcoins was in place, and you made it so clear that it was unbreakable, that 2 months before the hack, you publish on your website a new API command that can reset this hard limit to a new limit of 1 million Bitcoins. My question to Mike Belshi was, why didn't you make it 21 million Bitcoins, which is the whole amount of Bitcoins that will ever be minted, This all sounds really awkward or strange or beginner to me. I might be wrong in my assumptions, but I let everybody take his decision and, draw his conclusion about what happened and whose responsibility is the hack. My personal belief is that, from now on, it will never happen again that we'll give our Bitcoins to a third-party solution. Maybe in my next life, but not in this life. I believe the current technology allows us to be 100% safe, maybe not so efficient in our thing and not transparent. By the way, we were the only one that ever adopted this system, and the other platforms never did that. Somebody can say that they didn't do it because they already knew that our system was completely fragile and weak. But I must argue with you, or I could argue with you, maybe they didn't have all the Bitcoins that they deemed to have. For sure, we are the only one that showed the cards to the world for more than 13 months, 14 months before we got hacked. It was possible to check your balance on every account and everything, and this was maybe a little bit downplayed by our competitors, but this was really a point of pride for me and for the whole management. Also, BitGo had a big role with the CFTC, but this was not the reason why we chose BitGo, because the CFTC investigation happened several months after we chose BitGo. So what has been written on several medias that we got hacked because we took the decision to go with BitGo because of the CFTC is not the reality, is not the truth. It was just pure luck that our BitGo solution helped us with the CFTC, and now we don't allow US customers anymore to take leverage. By the way, even before the hack, US customers were not allowed to take leverage or to short Ethereum or Ethereum Classic or Litecoin or any other coin that was not subject to BitGo. So it's not a big change for us. At the end of the day, as some people say, the US are not the whole world. We are 7 billion people. And 300 million people are important. Of course, they are the biggest economy in the world, but we have a lot of customers in South America. We have a lot of customers in Asia. We have a lot of customers in Europe. We can survive without the US, and we'll see. I mean, medium to long term, after we do this recovery, of course, now we need every single Bitcoin traded, but we should sit around the table and talk about what is a SWOT analysis about being on the US market, because we all know that 90% of the heat or the problems are coming from the US markets. And if you have less than 20% of your customers going through this market, and among which you have 2 or 3 big market makers that will have no problem in creating their own SPV offshore if they want to still trade on Bitfinex in case we will ban US customers. And then you come to a point where you might eventually take the decision of, keep away from the US. This is not something that we already decided, by the way, but this might be the case one day. Having said that, I feel responsible about my decision because at the end, I'm the guy that calls the shot in Bitfinex. Phil is, of course, my good friend, is also my partner and has a big contribution every time in the decision making. He is much more technical than me, and as me and as everybody else believed that BitGo was a sound solution. These people were not simply sleeping at the wheel and being paid to validate any decision, any transaction that you were throwing on them. Keep in mind that a lot of trading platforms are still in this moment using BitGo as a third-party solution. They might think they have a different system than ours. They're safe in their decision and so on. But I don't know. It's time will tell, and time will also tell that if in 1 year BitGo will still be in business or not. We'll see. I mean.
Also, I think, you mentioned before that you think if you were to take legal action against BitGo and try to get some judgment for damages that they caused by negligence or failure to whatever the hell, then I don't think it. You said it was just like a spectacle, that it was just a gimmick, but I don't think that it's just a gimmick, especially if you're issuing these coins that are meant to reflect the value of the lost coins, which I guess maybe if you're suing BitGo for damages and you get money out of them, maybe that doesn't necessarily cover that, but it seems like maybe it should in a way if they are responsible for the loss. But something like that, it's it has a real effect if you actually go this course. And I think in the net, and you're right that right now it shouldn't be that shouldn't be the focus. I totally agree. And legally you have some years until any statute of limitation issues is hit, so there's plenty of time. But I still think that you should the net gain will be positive for Phoenix, and it's not just a spectacle. And yeah, it's probably more appropriate to do it down the line, but I still think it's an option that is not just a spectacle.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but at the same time, every time you want to sue somebody, you have to consider if this somebody has enough money to cover at least for your legal expenses. I don't want to give you too many details, but their operation is not a profitable operation. It's a typical Silicon Valley startup. We all know what is going on in Silicon Valley. They do these startups. They raise an initial round of money, and all they care about is the next round of financement. How will be the company valuation in the next round of financing? We have also in the trading platform, domain, you have a lot of these realities, and they keep losing money. They go through an enormous burn rate. Instead of having 25 employees like Bitfinex has, they have hundreds of employees, and they pay their employees American salaries, and in the Silicon Valley is not a small amount, because of course the competition is really big. So we are talking about burn rates, monthly burn rates of millions of dollars. This means that even if you raise $10 million, after 1 year, you might be out of money. And, the next round of financing for BitGo might not be as simple as people might suppose. So they might eventually run out of money. For the time being, as I said, there is no decision to be taken. So this is a purely theoretical elucubration that we make. But in a few months we will decide what to do. Maybe even asking to our new shareholders what their opinion is, because we plan to create a board of shareholders where people will have their voice and be able to express their opinion, as you do, for example. But I'm not saying that you are wrong. I think you are right in your assumptions. But at the same time, apart from the fact that aesthetically speaking, it would be beautiful to see something like that, as a way to assert your opinion against something that you don't believe is 100% your fault. But at the same time, I doubt a move like this will ever be able to collect at least the money that you're going to spend in legal fees. You have to keep in mind that, just to give you an example, we had to pay a fine to the CFTC, because of course these guys never go away without charging you for something. This was, according to a lot of people, even our lawyers, less than a slap on the wrist, because actually we could prove to them that we didn't do anything wrong. We still had to pay $75,000, but this turned out to be a small fraction of what we paid in legal costs. So in the US, legal costs can easily go up to several hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions sometimes. Before you realize this, you're out $1 million, and I doubt BitGo will be able to pay this amount of money. Now you could argue with me, then you can go after the venture capitalists that put money into this. Anything is possible, but is this really worth? Every time I got fucked in my life, the biggest damage was not the money I lost or the damage that I was subject to, but was all the negative impact of this loss, which means you talk to lawyers to get back your money. You try to do all these bureaucratic things where you get tied up with your energies, your attention, everything. Your legal department is asking you questions all the time, and you end up with nothing. Think about for 1 second what happened with MTGOX. I mean, the enormous distraction that all the creditors of MTGOX are subject to, all these bureaucratic papers that they had to fill, and all the infrastructure and so on. This is a gigantic waste of time, in my opinion. I luckily was not between them. We didn't lose one dime on MTGOX, even though at the beginning of Bitfinex history, we were meta trading on them. And then we decided several months before they went down to start meta trading on Bitstamp in order to create our book liquidity before we became important and our order book got thick. But, I think if I were a creditor of MTGOX, I would probably not have even tried to get back my money, because my opinion is maybe people will end up getting nothing. We know, I don't have hard evidence of this, but I read a post from Eric Voorhees that was talking about us, that was saying that over $30 million that were basically their cash reserve when they went down have been already paid to lawyers and to people that are involved in this bankruptcy. I believe once they will find a way to basically give back what is left, out of this corp, this will be a tiny fraction of the money that is owned by any creditor. And that's why also I believe I made the right decision in not allowing Bitfinex to go bankrupt and in trying to come up with a recovery plan, because this at least allowed people like you to get back after only 8 days from the hack at least 64% of their money. This is not a lot. I understand 36% is a big amount, but this is much better than any other situation that involves a bankruptcy. Now, people can walk with over 80% of their loss because if they sell 36% times 0.5% is already another 18%, so this makes a total of 82%. Nobody wants to lose 18% of its capital, but in the Bitcoin world, 18% doesn't represent such a big amount. I'm not trying to limit the damage by speaking about the situation. I'm just trying to put it in the right frame of mind. I believe people will be made whole. People that believe in our recovery plan will get back $1. I believe the converters will get back more than $1. Probably sooner than the people that wait for redemption, maybe not. I believe at the same time, people that decided to become our shareholders might eventually walk with 2, 3, 4, even 5 times their investment in a matter of years. If Bitfinex can go back to its initial position, always keep in mind that Coinbase valuation in this moment is $600 million. We all know they have 1 million customers, but most of them are people that buy 1 Bitcoin and put it under the pillow and sleep on it forever. They have a retail solution. They're losing money because we all know that it's a money-losing operation. I don't know. Maybe Bitfinex will not be worth $600 million for a while, but things can change quickly in the crypto world. Something I can tell you for sure is that Bitfinex doesn't look today what it looked even 1 year ago. 1 year ago, 100% of our volume, or very close to 100% of our volume, was made by Bitcoin trading. Now it's a much more complex situation where you have Ethereum Classic, and maybe new standards, new paradigm will come into play. We don't know, but I believe the potential of the biggest trading platform in the world is big. I don't know. I think if I had the choice, of course, I have to put my mouth where my wallet is, or the opposite, my wallet where my mouth is. I will convert all my tokens, and I will not sell my tokens unless the price goes to the moon. Because I believe in my own plan, and I want to lead by example. At the same time, if I were in the position where I was a creditor, I might eventually, hedge my position and maybe convert just 50%, maybe convert the totality. But I'm not sure, frankly speaking, I would sit on my tokens and wait for $1 redemption, because this might not be the right solution. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. Is anyone guess what the best strategy is? But just give it some thought.
And so now you've been talking, I saw you write in the chat about the plans to make a derivatives exchange then that's attached to Bitfinex. And, what we were talking about, making options instead of futures, or what?
Well, Phil is a big fan, and you all know about that because he has been talking about that on this channel several times. Phil is a big fan of creating a deliverable derivative market because we have among our customers a lot of miners, and this would be a perfect tool, a perfect solution to hedge their business. They invest millions of dollars into machines, into computers, ASICs and stuff. So to be able to sell your Bitcoins in 3 months or 6 months is a perfect tool for them. I'm a little bit more open. My experience, I have to say, is much more limited than his experience. He has been in Wall Street for over 20 years, so he knows much better than me what to do. But at the same time, I've been following your community. I know you're very much into futures trading and so on. We still are in a discussion. Flipper is sometimes talking to me. I believe, he has a deep knowledge about the market. He knows a lot of platforms. He's coming up with some good suggestions about different business models and so on. Something that, makes me a little bit skeptical about this future thing is the fact that there is really no way to allow people to be 100% sure to get their money. In other words, some people, some platforms are socializing losses in case the market gets really volatile. Some other people are closing positions in case they need to liquidate one of the two legs. No solutions seem to be perfect, in my opinion, but we can open a discussion and find a way to come up with a solution that would please everybody, or maybe most of the people. It's very difficult to please everybody. There will be always some critics about any solution we can take, but we are open to feedback or to solutions. Something I know for sure is that in this moment, before we were kind of lazy. We had this spot market, we had this cow that was giving us a lot of good milk every month. So we were not pushing too much in this direction, even though talking about derivatives is something that has been going on for months. Now we might be, willing to accelerate this thing, and it might be a matter of weeks, maybe months, before we start doing something.
Yeah, see, even with the deliverable options, I mean, you still the reason why these miners that have millions in exposure that they want to protect is that you have to have a product that has leverage within. Nobody, if someone wants to protect millions, they have to put down something for that, and whether it's in futures where you put down whatever it is, 10% to go 10x, 5%, whatever, 2%, you have to put something down as like a down payment or a premium, whatever you want to call it, in order to access this protection. And someone else has to take the other side, because if something goes on that has to be paid out, someone has to pay. So either you, the exchange, takes on that risk, or the counterparties, as traders as a whole, socialize the risk of that loss happening when it does happen, or you let the counterparties deal with it with some sort of deleveraging. So you can't avoid it one way or another. You have to. These are high leverage products. No matter how you mathematically fit them into different kind of systems, it's all the same in the end.
That's why Phil wants to do deliverable ones, because once you get into just put and calls, then you can have some deals with market makers, which are in this case going to be miners, where you basically sign a contract and you create a mature market like the traditional markets, where people never get foreclosed or they never have to socialize losses. Because they have big shoulders, big market makers that are taking care of this. Of course, they need to have an incentive in order to do this. We all know that, but it's possible to work on a business model that will allow this kind of solutions. Only for deliverable markets, I agree with you, but at the same time, we can work on different types of options. We can create a market for deliverable options where people can, play in a safe way, knowing that there will always be a counterparty that will honor the situation. Or we can create also a new system that is a little bit more extreme, in my opinion, that will allow people to participate as you all do on OKCoin or BitMEX or CoinPit or other platforms. And, we are open to solutions.
Yeah, see, I don't think that the main is, I mean, maybe you are talking with different people, but when I'm talking to some different kind of miners, Cumberland and stuff, and I don't think that the demand really there on their end to take the other side of the. I mean, maybe there's market makers who are. I mean, I don't know if you've also talked with Vinci, Andy from CoinPit. Sorry, not CoinPit, CoinNut, who has. They're not very successful. They don't have any volume and everything, but they are a funded exchange that has vanilla options, and there's not very much interest there.
Yeah, it's a typical situation of a dog biting its own tail. Miners don't want to put a lot of money on platforms that are just doing derivatives, like CoinPit or BitMEX, or these guys are seen by miners as non-stable solutions. We are perceived as to be different by these guys. They're all our customers, and when I talked to them during the last months about a solution like this, and they were all kind of positive about that. So it might be different in our case. I just say it might because we're not there yet, but we are getting more serious about this. And Phil is working on this. He knows a lot of people. He knows a lot of market makers from also the traditional market, and he might be able to attract these people to our platform. He did a great job since he joined our company, and I have no doubt that he will keep doing this, and I remain positive about it.
So just okay then, because so even after all the hack laws and stuff, these guys are not just on board to still support you, but actually in on new ideas for projects to expand the relationship. That I find that interesting. But so like this 20% that you said before, the 20% of holdouts on tokens, after you take out the whales like you and others that simply are holding until full redemption or holding until conversion to equity, like after you remove those guys, after you remove the total dust guys, like what is this actual percentage of like potential troublemakers, like realistically?
Realistically, is much less than our contingent reserve liabilities that we put beside. And I have to say that, as I said before, we didn't get sued. We got a very, very small amount of letters from different lawyers. We replied to them, and they didn't send a letter back. As I said before, suing somebody in the BVI is very costly. It doesn't bring you anywhere. They all understood the situation. Nobody in the Bitcoin world believes this world is a world of treasury bonds. Anybody accepting to trade on a platform should be aware of the risk that is involved in this. Our biggest, I would say, problem was that we never really came up with a solution that would also motivate people not to keep their bitcoins on our platform. We had people that had thousands of bitcoins on our platform and didn't trade. They used us as a bank, and sadly, Bitfinex was doing money on anything, but on acting as a depository bank for the coins. The only thing we were not making money on was this. You could keep 10,000 or 20,000 bitcoins on your account for years, and you would not have been charged for anything. We are now talking about changing this policy and saying, okay, if you want to use us as a depository bank, first of all, think twice. But if you still want to do this, pay us something, because to take such a big risk and such a big potential liability and not make money out of it is really a nonsense. I think Andreas Antonopoulos said a big truth when he said, if you don't own the private keys of your address, then you don't own the bitcoins. And I understand some people, they are big market makers. They might keep, a couple of hundred Bitcoins on our account and trade thousands of them every week. This is something I understand, but the guy that keeps 2,000 or 3,000 Bitcoins, including myself, by the way, I'm probably the most stupid guy in the world, because I never really bothered about, buying a Trezor wallet or buying a keep key solution, something that I believe would give me a much higher security level than keeping my coins on a platform, because the only reason why you should keep your coins on a trading platform is because you want to trade. It doesn't make any sense to keep them there because it's safe, because it is not safe. I'm not talking about Bitfinex in particular, but I'm talking about anybody. I mean, 2 weeks ago, the news came out that Yahoo got hacked. I mean, we are talking about guys that have billions of dollars and probably spend dozens and dozens of millions of dollars into security. The FBI got hacked, the CIA got hacked, most of the big banks got hacked. I mean, anybody asserting I'm unhackable, apart from me and my perfume, is full of shit. I mean, nobody's really unhackable. It's just a matter of being able to set up the right procedures in order to minimize the loss in case you get hacked.
Giancarlo, I would buy a bottle of that. Really, I think you and Flipper should talk about merchandising and really get on that, because I know a lot of people would be interested to smell.
I already told Flipper I give away every right on this perfume. He just has to produce one, and I will give my image free of charge. We can talk about charity or something like that for people that got wrecked on platforms, to give them some money to start trading again, something like that. But I'm willing to give my name and my image for this perfume, and I think it's going to be very popular.
We need to find some Chinese perfume producer and have them and outsource it to them and just figure out how to get that going. But maybe someone here has some connections with some suppliers that we could get the ball rolling on some shit.
For sure, Arthur Hayes will be very interested in buying some bottles.
So I don't like the idea that you would charge people, because I mean I have accounts with interactive brokers and others where if you don't trade, then you get charged. So if you have like 1 month where you are maybe out on vacation, you're not so active, and you don't hit a certain threshold, then you end up having to pay inactivity fee. I think that's, I mean, obviously it's a liability for you to hold these coins because you have to give it back to them. So it's not just a potential liability, it is one where when they deposit with you, you owe them these coins back. And so you have to take on this cost and responsibility of holding the coins. So I understand from your perspective, but it's just bad. It gives a bad feeling when Bitcoiners are like, I mean, I don't know, it seems wrong in many ways. And obviously it's annoying to provide that for free, and I agree 100% with your statements about, like, you don't own it unless you have the private key, period. That's what Bitcoin's all about. And that's really important that people forget about. And like you said, a couple of years ago, it was really hip for BitGo and these kinds of like, oh, don't bother taking care of your own Bitcoins. We'll do it for you. And there's this whole trend of that, and that kind of is going away. And this hack has really helped to put the final nail in the coffin of really that whole idea, I think, because people need to just learn to take responsibility. And like part of Bitcoin is that, take care of your own private key. That's really what it's all about. And you can't just dumb down Bitcoin and make it so that any idiot can use it without really having to take proper care. Like, that's not what Bitcoin's about. Bitcoin is about true control over your funds, which implies taking proper personal responsibility in management of the access to those funds. Not relying on the government for some backstop, and not relying on a bank like Bitfinex to hold a Bitcoin bank, so to speak, to hold it for you as a third party, because you just can't trust it, and it's not true ownership. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Guys, it was a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sorry I have to go back to my work. I promise I will come back if I have more time. I hope all of you will think about converting. I will do anything I can in order to provide you more information in case you have questions or something like that. You can always mail me. My email is giancarlo@bitfinex.com. I will try to reply to you all. Enjoy your time. Any decision you take, I will respect, and I hope we will make it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and chatting a bit with us.